Hey, FanCasters, welcome to another episode here on FanCast. Speaking of standout performers and a very close contest and injuries that you mentioned as well, because there's one player who is very talented in the Rising Star contention who seemed to be everyone's favourite but has gotten injured. We're talking about, of course, for those listening at home, ding, 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 you are correct. We're talking about Will Ashcroft. Unfortunately for the genius that is him, I have massive, massive raps for him. I think he's shown that he is an incredible footballer and he's going to have a tremendous career. He's had a tremendous season to date. Unfortunately, the ACL, thoughts and prayers with him, and hopefully he recovers and gets back to full fitness and full form. What is going to happen with the Rising Star race? Because I thought he was sensational. I thought he was the favourite to win it. We obviously had Sheasel from North Melbourne playing behind the ball, racking up a lot of the pill, doing a lot of very important things.
He has been playing midfield and half forward the last few weeks as well. And he's named on the ball this week. So it's not like he's only playing defence like Dacos was 2 years ago.
Yeah, so things have changed there, but a lot of the disposals and a lot of the averages, the reason behind his high average in disposals was because he spent a lot of time behind the ball.
30 touches on the weekend in the midfield.
Still, he can develop, right? He can obviously develop. He's a great player.
Into an argument.
But, I know. Yeah, but there's no doubt about it, though. At the start of the year, he was playing a lot behind the ball, getting a lot of the pill, right? There's no doubt about it, right? Meanwhile, we also have...
Speaking of,
someone who's definitely not getting a lot of cheap ball.
No,
Machida Owens,
actually the opposite,
is contested. I know we've had this discussion a lot off air. I'm definitely firmly on the Machida Owens side of the argument when it comes to between the two of you, because Machida Owens, please tell us what this guy has to do for your team is tremendous for someone so early in his career in the contested ball side of things.
It's nuts. Yeah. Like chopping out in the ruck too, like the way that he does it. But people underestimate his leap and how quickly he can get back up off the deck when he hits the ground. Like that's something that separates him from not only other chop out rucks, but other chop out forwards. And it's not just the ruck that's a tough gig. It's half forward in an undersized forward line that doesn't have Max King or Tim Membry, where the other defenders can just focus on them and he gets the third or fourth man. He's getting the one or two guys. He's getting Harris Andrews or something in his second season. It's a difficult gig, and he's doing 17 disposals, 10 tackles and 2 goals a week or whatever it might be. It's unbelievable. Like he couldn't be doing anything more for the club.
Come on. Now, your turn. Defend Sheasel. Why Sheasel has to be the rising star here?
Look, Sheasel's amazing. It's his first year in the AFL. He's dominating, yes, in a weakened North Melbourne team versus some teams, right? But the kid's a freak. His goal sense, his know-how, he knows where players are on the field before they even move. It's like chess, you know how they come in there and they pre-plan the moves? Sheasel's doing that already. I really want him to win because I think just for him and his efforts, he's going to do it. I can see a world where Machida gets it, but I think it more comes down to... I think it more comes down to ladder position, right? And that was half the argument for me with Ashcroft, is that the teams that are doing well, the players are like, oh, he's doing well in a team that's made finals. So the people who are nominating and deciding, they look at that a little bit better than, hey, this kid's dominating, but, he's dominating, he's really good in a bad team.
So which one is more important do you think? Do you think it's better to be... I wouldn't say Owens is dominant, but I'd say he's definitely holding his own. He's definitely starring in the forward line for a team that needs him to shine because of all of their injuries that they had in the forward line. Would you say that is more important than, for example, Sheasel shining in a not so great team? Do you value having someone shine in a strong team or shining in a weaker team?
It's a tough one, right? I'm happy to give it to Machida because Sheasel's going to win the Brownlow one time in his career. And Machido's not going to be close. So he can have the rising star and then that's it. So, yeah.
No, I personally reckon if you're able to shine in a strong team, because you have a lot of other contributors who could take away from that shine. Whereas it's much harder being a big fish in a big pond as opposed to being a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah, but you look at it the other way, right? Teams know he's a good player in a bad team. So he would have got focused a little bit more because there's no one else to target in that team.
Did they try to tag him?
But do you bother tagging somebody in a team that you're most likely going to beat?
But there's time that goes into Machida.
That
was my point. I'm agreeing with you is that if you play North, you don't think about Machida. And if you play Saints, you think about trying to put
Well, why
someone
would they
good
think
on
about
Oz.
Machito if they're playing North?
No,
He
he's
meant
been
Cheezel.
Cheezel.
He meant Cheezel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
he's got Machito and he's not on his mind.
you got to stop
For-
him, you know.
I don't like the whole voting system because us four could just be on the panel and be like, okay, you're going to go 5, you're going to go 5 votes to Sheasel. You know, I'm going to give my boy Sammy Banks 5 and just muck around the whole voting system, which has happened before. Like we've seen KB, we've seen a couple like the year. And no, nothing against Louis Taylor, but you know, the year Bont didn't win it because there was a couple of people who, for whatever reason, didn't vote the way. So I think there could be a reform to that. Now, how do you do that? Do you have a panel that's consistent throughout the year and they sit down and they get 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for that whole round and come a bit like the Brownlow, but it allows the media or whoever you have vote on it? Does it become a little bit? It's hard for the coaches there because they'll have their favourites. And in any particular game, there might not be any rookie playing, but over a round, you're always going to have enough. I don't like the voting system how it's done. At least this year, there's no clear one because people will can potentially still go Ashcroft. And then, you've got young Jai Amiss there who I think he's kicked 32 for the year as it stands. If he was to finish, it's not out of the question he could finish with 50 goals in a Fremantle team that we've already dissected.
That's so impressive.
That might be, it's been quite poor. So if he does get that, it will finish strong. There'll be people going, well, there's a young full forward in a team that's struggling. Maybe I'll give the votes to him. So, I think it's going to be tight either way, whichever they go. But then again, because it's just one individual's opinion, and depending also where that individual is, some of them can keep their bias out. Others, where we've seen people in the media before, they're very biased with their decisions, and maybe if they've got a connection towards a particular club, they'll vote in.
What's your call, though? What's your call? Who wins it from here?
I want to say Cheezel, but Machito's season's been really good at that. Like for him, and it's not just the fact that he's come in and just done his own thing and played well. He's actually had influence on games and helped St Kilda win matches, especially when King's been out early in the year. So I don't think that can't be taken. You've got to take that into consideration. And
Facts.
Here's a guy that's helped them win matches and put them in the position they are,
especially earlier in the season.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, in typical AFL, they're just going to pick a midfielder. Look at the look at the All Australian team. They'll just pick a midfielder. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if it's still Ashcroft and Sheasel second, or the other way around, and then Owens. I miss 3, 4, and I'm like,
No.
I don't know about that. But
or Finn, like if Finn Callahan was playing for a Melbourne team, he's probably higher.
Yeah, for sure.
Again, out of sight, out of mind.
Well, someone who's playing in a Melbourne team who is definitely not out of sight and not out of mind is one Nick Dacos.
Yes.
Is it just a question of by how far for the Brownlow? Is anyone giving him?
No, I
sort of
think
contest at all?
he's. You talk about clear favourites, like he's far and away the best player in the comp. I'd be staggered if he didn't win it.
We were talking off air. The media's obsession, when especially when we talk about All Australian, they've got to do a body of work before they start getting recognised. And Brownlow voting's been a little bit like that. Before the players start really getting recognised. Now, Dacos did get some good votes in his first year, but before they probably the juggernaut got behind him, maybe early on Dacos doesn't poll as many votes as he potentially could have, just because the umpires, they're noticing other players instead. They're still looking at Pendles and DeGoey, and maybe Dacos is picking up ones instead of picking up the threes. So with Clary being out as long as he has, does that actually open the door for Petrarca, if he was to finish strong, to be snagging threes each week? And I think he's probably the only one, because he's polled so well in previous years. Like it's always the case, it's debatable who we're going to give the 3 to, while we're giving it to the gun.
My grandma can't pronounce Essendon properly, and she can tell you who Nick Dacos is if she was.
Yeah.
If you were to put her in a line there,
and 100%.
From
he's
Nick,
good
but from round 5, 6, for sure, Dacos has been. But maybe those first 3 or 4 weeks where he could have been getting votes, maybe it's just hypothetically, maybe he hasn't.
His numbers,
and then the umpires start recognising him more than what they should have. So I still think the only way he's probably missing is if he gets rubbed out in these last 4 or 5 weeks. And if I'm an opposition team, I'm probably putting a tagger on him and just targeting him, because like
So someone's going to snipe him to get him to get him penalised.
Poor bloke's going to be like, I don't really want to defend myself here and give away frees, but I think it's his, locked in.
He also has the benefit of having a personal bodyguard and
it's a debate. It's a debate.
And Maynard. Maynard sees someone messing with him, he just storms up and like, oh, get off him.
Competitive beast, mate.
His first four, like you said, up until round 5.
Yeah.
Like round 1, he's got 35, just staggering numbers there. 10 contested possessions, 2 goals and 32 in round 2.
So you'd expect the umpires to give him 3, but at the same time,
I reckon he'll get 2.
We have seen umpires before with their voting be some strange voting over the time. So it used to always be like, see Judd 3 votes and he didn't even play that week. That kind of
I think
situation.
I think
it is clear, but
38 and 2 goals.
It would not surprise me if, for whatever reason, he's only picking up 1 or 2. If the AFL umpires haven't jumped on board with the momentum that the rest of the fans were.
And if he does win, he then becomes the most highly paid 21-year-old, like the media's been talking about this week. This guy is going to command $1 million a year. Collingwood are going to potentially lose some other players and then just pay their ruckman $100K so they can kind of forego it and navigate it a little bit. This guy's going to be rolling in some dough, man.
It won't be a mill because I know Peter Dacos was out in I forgot which radio station it was, but he did have an interview with someone and he did confirm that it's not going to be.
And what it'll be a sliding scale where as the cap goes up for starters, and I don't think like the Dacos boys, because both of them, their contracts they're in discussion, are going to be like, okay, I know I can command in the millions here, but instead I want to keep this together. We want premiership success. I've seen Dad have talk about this and only have the 1 premiership in his time and that. I want to be here winning multiple premierships to my brother. How do we do that? Well, let's not take the difference between taking 800,000 compared to 1.2 million after tax isn't that big of a deal when you're earning that much money. And there's always potential that he can back end it and get and stuff and then sponsors and all that sort of stuff anyway. And I think what really goes unnoticed with these sort of conversations is you look at players who have been very successful in teams, Jonathan Browns, and we can run through a whole lot of them. Their careers afterwards, they open up a lot more opportunities if they've been involved in these successful teams, especially if you've been a gun player in a successful team. You either got better media opportunities, better sponsorship opportunities after your career, or you've got better chances to get into the coaching world. So you'd rather take less. And I think this is a little bit of a crack at the Blues list there because a lot of their players who they've drafted are commanding large amounts of money. If they all took 100, 200,000 less to make their list stronger and compete, they will be better off in the long term than they would just in the short term taking that long money. And that's what Geelong is so good about. Manage their club really well and manage their salary cap fantastically.
Yeah, he's young. He doesn't need to jump the gun.
And that's why I actually like the fact that De Koning only took the 2-year contract.
I was going to ask about that.
It's I think it shows a bit of maturity in whoever's managing him. It's great because the bigger contract will come. He didn't need to put all that pressure on him right now. Let's go get the 7-9-year contract, whatever, these ridiculous contracts that have been handed out at the moment.
Yeah.
All that pressure on you while you're developing. But, hey, if you're commanding $1 million in a 7-year contract at 22, 23, well, the pressure should be on you because you've put your hand up to accept that. Where now he can continue to just develop, hopefully build something for them at Carlton, and then in 2 years' time, go and renegotiate again. And if you've done the hard yards and developed yourself, you're going to get better rewarded than taking the long-term deal right now.
I'm against offering younger players these massive contracts. I mean, because when you have that assurity that you're sure you're going to take home all that big bucks, $1 million, we saw that massive debate inside of Collingwood when they had the decision of, are we going to give Grundy that massive contract that he's looking for? Are we going to pay Grundy $1 million? It was a split. Collingwood was split right down the middle. Some people were like, yes, give him what he wants. He's a gun, top ruckman in the competition. The other half is like, no, that's a lot of money to invest into one player. And now look what we see. We've seen that he's fallen off a cliff. Of course, he was injured, all right, which obviously then opened the eyes of the Collingwood selectors and be like, we don't need him. We can use this money elsewhere. And now he's not even playing senior football at Melbourne.
Because there's two things with that. There's players always seem to have career years when they're out of contract.
Yes.
And we used to have that at Richmond. We used to say, like, your Brandon Ellises and stuff like that. Watch them dominate this year; they're out of contract. But it's true. Like you're playing for your career and your life, and that you're putting everything on the line. Where there is that little bit of safety when you now I'm sewn up for 5-6 years. I don't really want to get injured. There's a different mindset for playing, and players can sit there and fans can sit there and go, "Oh no, it's true." If you've got that situation in your job, and this is for the fans at home, and you think your contract coming to the end at your job, and you want to stay there, you're going to be doing overtime. You're going to be doing everything you can, so you're the one that's continuing on at that job if that's the job that you want to do.
Yeah.
That where now if you're being put on an ongoing contract, maybe I'll just be a little bit more lazy here for the job. I don't have to put in those extra efforts because you've got that security. So it's no different to players there, and we see it all the time. And that's where the long-term contracts can really get clubs in trouble. So
are we seeing that in Mackay? Are we seeing that in Mackay trying to come to my boys?
Mate, I want pick 3. You can take him.
Man, we need another key defender.
Yeah.
We can't have poor BZT take on all
It'll get
Canadians.
done, I'm sure.
Mackay's decent one-on-one when he doesn't have to worry about doing other things. So he'd be fantastic.
That's fine. We don't
for
want
you
to do
guys.
other things.
That's my point.
We've got Ridley. We've got Mason Redmond for another 5 more years.
Yeah. And I know we got a lot of stick because Hopper and Taranto for 7 years, but I don't mind that. Like the age bracket there. Okay, you're 25. You're going through the 32. Salary cap's going to go up 700,000. I think by when we reflect on it in 5-6 years, is going to be an absolute bargain for those players. If you can't, it's not like you've come out and gone, okay, here's the big 1 million, 1.2, and I think that's where the clubs start getting real trouble with that.
Or you end up like St Kilda and you've offered Zach Jones a big contract, Bradley Hill a
Did
big
we?
contract. I thought you did, right?
Zach Jones?
Zach Jones?
You know that as a fact? Or you just saying that?
he's still
definitely
playing.
It's just talking shit.
He's talking shit. Hanbury was probably the only one.
Hanbury was the one.
And that's
yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
But
Healy
I
took
could
a
understand at the time.
Hannah's did take a big pay cut at the second last year, as I'm aware. So
Yeah.
but that wasn't publicised, of course.
Yeah, of course. That's the hard thing with these salary caps, but
Zach Jones.
it's
Look at him, he's going red over there.
Yeah.
It's the lights. They're a bit too hot for him.
I know it's not really our subject we're going to talk about. Maybe we can explore it later on in a different show. But it's hard with you got players of worth different values at different clubs.
Yeah,
For sure.
And
They fit a
that's,
need.
that's it. And where your bigger clubs or like Geelong, we've talked about, like can offer other things with the property down there. And somebody criticised me saying, Geelong property's not that cheap, or down Torquay and stuff like that. I still looked up it was a nice 4-bedroom house for 1.2 million down not far from the beach.
You're not getting that over here.
Yeah, where were you getting that here? So each city has their different thing. It's hard in when you've got 10 teams or 9 teams based in Melbourne. What outside of like Richmond and Collingwood, well, we can offer you playing at the MCG in front of 78 in Collingwood, nearly 90,000 each week. What can some of these other smaller market clubs do and offer? And when people are like, well, they've got the salary cap. Well, at the end of the day, they've got the same salary cap.
Yeah.
Still, it's not like you can come out and offer $2 or $3 million different, which is going to be life changing for a player.
Yeah,
Well,
Adelaide.
It's
Denial is not just a river in Egypt, mate. It's also a street in Adelaide. He's staying here, boys. Mason Redmond. He's copped that Adelaide.
That's why we're
I'll use Taron Thomas as an example, right? North Melbourne, a team that needs to hit that 95% cap because that's what the AFL says. We're not paying any players any money. We paid him something like $700K because we thought he was going to be good and he was at the right age that potentially he could break out, right? And we need to cover that money. So like you say, sometimes it's, we can't offer much because it's taken up by a lot. Sometimes it's we have to offer a lot more to keep a player or just potentially just to make the salary cap.
Yep.
Because next year contracts change, older players, I don't want to say expire, but they retire, right? So a lot of money can get moved around, but sometimes you think, this guy's on big money. Well, we've got no one else to give the money to because the AFL says we have to spend it.
Just give it to Polak. Send him away.
Mate.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
guys, for watching. We hope you enjoyed. Please make sure you like, subscribe, share, send it to all of your friends and family because I hope you had as much fun as we had fun. Right, Swiss?
100%. Always have fun here.
Beautiful. Jakey?
You know it.
Jazz?
Mate, I love talking some proper footy chat.
See you guys the next one. Bye.
So yeah.